The Spanish animated film Decorado definitely ain't for kids. That's the word for stage, by the way, which is pretty appropriate. Arnold is an out-of-work mouse living with his illustrator wife Maria in the city of Anywhere, ruled and controlled by super company Alma that makes everything. As Arnold's misfortunes mount, he increasingly believes that his world might not be real and tries to find a way to escape from Alma's grip. So this is based on the 2016 short of the same name, and once again it's helmed by Alberto Vasquez, who helmed Unicorn Wars, and it massively expands upon his original idea, but keeps a similar art style, although it's in full, vibrant colour instead of in black and white. Although I'm not sure that it says any more than it already did in just 10 minutes. So the obvious point of comparison is The Truman Show, especially as the mouse hero suffers from derealization, the sense that the world around him is becoming increasingly surreal and centered upon him. Not an unfounded fear, as it turns out, as the head of Alma is actively plotting to steal his wife. But that could also be a natural reaction to the fact that he lives in a late-stage capitalist dystopian city governed by a megacorporation, and the bleakly absurdist tone is very reminiscent of Terry Gilliam's Brazil. Mostly it's a commentary on middle-aged malaise, unable to find a job and increasingly disenfranchised by the constant consumerism that he struggles to ignore despite his medication boasting that it's made of 100% happiness, and later boasting now with even more happiness. Adding to a sense of artificiality is a purposefully soap opera-like vibe where each new terrible thing that happens to Arnold and those around him is accompanied by a melodramatic music sting, which becomes an increasingly repetitive gag. While it does feel very relevant at this exact political moment, I found Decorado's constantly grim and cynical tone got a bit exhausting after a while because it hits the same note over and over, and there's an oddly unpleasant edge to it. That's not to say that I didn't find some of the dark humour funny. One of the big winners is Maria being taunted by a literal depression fairy that keeps whispering insecurities in her ear. And there's a bit of a perverse glee in seeing the Disney iconography sent up with the distinctive Mickey-like shadow of Arnold, but especially the subplot of him being a fan of a Donald Duck-like cartoon character who was a former child star that has now become homeless. The animation does evoke Ren and Stimpy at times with its deliberately grotesque style, particularly in the forest of addicts outside the city, and the occasional moments of graphic gore. But the plotting gets complicated and messy, and it's about as subtle as a mallet to the face. Literally nobody can dream anymore. Do you get it? I'd grown tired of this long before its despairing ending, a doomy conclusion that makes the whole thing feel pointlessly misanthropic.